The wind carried the stench of rust and despair, a smell that clung to the very air we breathed. We had arrived at the slave encampment, a sprawling city of tents and misery under a sky the color of ash. They called it Oakhaven, a cruel mockery of the life-giving trees that once stood here, now reduced to stumps and gallows. This was our new reality, a cage built of fear and forged in iron. My siblings, Amara and Femi, huddled close to me, their eyes, wide with a terror I recognized from my own reflection in a puddle of muddy water, darted everywhere. They saw the hunched shoulders of the other slaves, the vacant stares, the fresh welts on a woman's back, as she hauled a heavy log. I put my arms around them, a gesture that felt both protective and hopelessly inadequate. "Stay close," I whispered, my voice rough. "Don't look anyone in the eye." It was here, amidst the endless rows of tattered canvas, that I first saw them. Two figures who would become as much a part of my story as the chains on my wrists. The first was a boy, no older than Femi, sitting cross-legged by a smoldering fire pit. It was scared, almost invisible, his gaze fixed on something hidden beneath his ragged tunic. As I drew nearer, I saw it was a map, its edges frayed and its surface crisscrossed with faded lines. He traced a route with a dirt-caked finger, his lips moving silently. His name, I would learn, was Tari. He wasn't just looking at a map. He was memorizing a promise of escape, a path to a place that existed only in whispers. The other was a girl. She stood apart from everyone, her posture defiant, her arms crossed over her chest. A jagged scar ran from her temple down her cheek, a stark white line against her sun-darkened skin. She didn't flinch or look away when the overseers passed, their whips cracking the air. Instead, her eyes, filled with a burning, untamed fire, followed them with a hatred so pure it was almost tangible. She was Nala. She never spoke of the scar, and no one dared to ask. It was a testament to a battle she had fought and survived, a permanent reminder of her resilience. They didn't choose each other. We didn't choose any of this. A boy clinging to a map, a girl wearing her past-like armor, and me, a sister trying to hold her family together. We were just lost souls, adrift in a sea of suffering. But destiny, it seems, has a strange and often brutal way of connecting those who are meant to find each other. The days that followed blurred into a monotonous cycle of cruelty. We were herded like cattle at dawn, forced to work in the quarries until our hands were raw and bleeding. The overseers were monsters in human skin. Their orders were guttural barks, their punishments swift and merciless. The crack of the whip was the camp's heartbeat, a constant rhythm of pain. We learned to move without thinking, to obey without question, to make ourselves as small and unnoticeable as possible. The nights were worse. The physical exhaustion was a heavy blanket, but it couldn't smother the sounds that haunted the darkness. The soft, choked sobs of a child missing their mother. The muttered prayers to gods who seemed to have forsaken us. The quiet groans of men and women tending to their wounds. Sleep was a luxury few could afford, a temporary escape always shattered by nightmares. Amara cried silently into a thin blanket each night, her small body trembling. Femi would lie stiff and awake, staring at the canvas roof of our tent as if he could see the stars through it, a world away from this hell. One night, I pulled them close, the three of us, a small island in an ocean of sorrow. "Listen to me," I whispered, my voice barely audible above the mournful howl of the wind. "We can break. Not here. Not now." I looked from Amara's tear-streaked face to Femi's hardened expression. "They want us to give up. They want us to forget who we are, but we won't." I felt a flicker of something new ignite within me, a tiny spark in the crushing darkness. It wasn't hope, not yet. It was something harder, sharper. It was defiance. "Just survive today," I told them. The words, a solemn vow. Get through this sunrise, this day of labor, this one night. Just survive today, because tomorrow we plan. In the dim light, I saw a change in their eyes. The fear was still there, but it was joined by a glimmer of determination. My words, as small as they were, had planted a seed. In the heart of that desolate camp, surrounded by chains and despair, a tiny, fragile seed of rebellion had begun to grow. It was a dangerous seed, one that could get us all killed, but it was also the only thing that could ever set us free. The next day, during our meager meal of thin gruel, I caught Terry's eye. He quickly looked down at his map, but not before I saw the same spark of defiance in his gaze. Later, I saw Nala watching an overseer, not with fear, but with cold calculation, as if measuring his weaknesses. We were strangers, bound by a common enemy. The overseers saw us as broken tools, interchangeable and disposable. They were wrong. They had no idea that in their pit of despair, they had accidentally forged a weapon. They had brought together a mapmaker, a warrior, and a leader. And our story was just beginning. Thank you for watching. This is just the beginning of Kemi's journey. If you want to follow or fight for freedom, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next part of Chains of Dawn. We'll see you in the next chapter.